Hello, welcome to this tutorial on Git Basics. This tutorial is for complete beginner. If you've not done anything with Git before, or you are just transitioning into tech, this is for you. So previously we installed Git, so when you come to your command prompt, you can open it by clicking here and searching for it. Command prompt, you should have something similar to mine here. You can type git -- version and you should see an output similar to mine. It doesn't matter if your number is a little bit different, but you should see something like this. Fantastic, you have Git installed. If you've not done that, you should watch the previous video to install Git, then you can come and continue with this one. Great. Today we want to focus on how to use Git, right? But before we start writing code, I want to explain the basic concept of Git. So I'm going to go to this website called draw.io. It's my favorite website for drawing things on the screen. So when you are working with Git, let's assume this is your computer, right? I would have taken something better, but let's assume this is your computer, and I can go to the computer. So this is your computer, and you have different things in your computer, right? A lot of files and folders and all that, okay? But let's say you have a folder called projects, and this is where you are working, where you are typing code and everything. In order to make this project folder a Git repository, so local Git repository, so let's call it the local Git repository. In order to make this your project a local Git repository, it is local because this is currently sitting on your computer. So in order to make this a local repository, you need to run some command, right? So the benefit of Git is this. So let me write out some things here. Number one, Git helps you track changes. You can use it to track your changes. Git also helps you work with other team members. So let's say if you are in a team, it can help you work with other team members, so you collaborate. So I can just type it. I want to keep the terminologies really, really basic. Work with other team members, work with team members. And you can use it to showcase your work and all that. We'll talk about that later, right? So your local Git repository, which is your folder. So an example would be, let's say we have a project folder here. We can make it a local Git repository, which we'll do soon, right? So let me close this one now. So how do we do this? I'm going to minimize this one. I'm going to also close this one now. I'm going to open on the desktop. I will create a new folder let's call this one web. Let's say this is our web project. I'm going to drag the folder into my text editor to open it. It didn't open it, so I can go to File, Open Folder, my desktop, and then I open the web folder here. Fantastic. Now I have opened it in my text editor. Most of you probably be using VS Code just like I'm using here, but if you are not using VS Code, no problem. So I'm going to show you how to open the terminal in two different ways. So you can, when you click on any of this small icon, or you can go to your window here and look for the terminal. So it's called terminal. It's that same command prompt, but this time around it is open directly under your project. Now that you are under the project, see that I am in that desktop/web, right? So I can type git, and this is the git command. This is the first command to start a new Git project, git init. This git init would initialize a Git project for you. So I press on it and it says initialize empty Git repository. It is empty because presently we've not added anything to it. Now that you have initialize a new Git project, how do you add your files to the Git? Just having your files here, for instance, let's create an index.html. Just having the files here doesn't mean it's been added to Git. No. You have the file, yes, but this is just in the folder. It is currently not in the Git repository, which is your local repository. So I put hello world here. We have this file, we have initialized Git, but it is not yet in our local repository. Now, how do we add it to the local repository? The way to do that, you can type, let's check the status of our repository by typing git status. And look at, it's saying untracked file. So Git is currently seeing one file that is not being tracked. You know, I said earlier that Git helps you track your changes. Git is telling us that we have a file here that is currently not being tracked. So how do we tell Git to start tracking this file? You can do that by adding it to the repository. So you do git add and you put the file, right? And now it is added to the repository. So if you do another git status will become your friend. You use it to see the current state of your repository all the time. So it's saying now that changes to be committed. It is no longer saying on track, right? Changes to be committed. So we can help you commit it. The idea of committing your changes is when you add something to this place now, when we did the git add, it put it in a staging area. Imagine like if you are a truck driver, you take your truck somewhere, you load something into the truck, but you've not driven it to the destination yet. So what we've done now, the git add just loaded the files to the git truck. Now when we commit, that means it's been driven to the destination. Git has now permanently put it in the repository, right? So I can now say git commit, and then I put -m. That means I want to put put the message. I'm going to put quotes here, and then I'll type a message. So add index file, and that is it. It's saying one file change, 13 insertions, create mode, blah blah, and all that, right? Now, it doesn't affect your file per se, but what it means is your project is now being tracked by Git, right? So congratulations. Most times, in short, let's say 70% of your time, this is all the commands you need to learn. So I'm going to come down here and create a readme.md, and then I'll put all the commands here now. I say we have we did run git initialize to start a new git repo, and we also run git status. Oops. And we also run git status to view the status of our project, and we did git add to add changes to staging area of our repo. And of course we did the git commit and the message. So you can replace message with something to commit our changes. Do you see? I know if you are new to this, you'll be wondering like, when should you use this and when should you use that? I understand. Now that you're going to notice that now that we have a Git repository, we are only going to be using most times these two commands, the git add and git commit. Let me show you. I'm going to clear my screen by typing CLS. That will clear what we have typed previously. If I type git status now, it's going to show that we have one on track file. So anytime you create a new file to be on track, you need to add it for Git to start tracking it. So I'm going to go ahead and create more files. So this time around, let's add the folder images. I'm going to add a static. right? So if I do another git status to see the current state of our repo, you see that it's saying it's still looking at this one, but let's put something inside this one, the static index.html. Even inside this one too, hello.html. All right, and then we run git status again. You see we have folders and many things now. So now that you have like a lot of files and folders to add, you know, it's somehow for you to be typing git add the name of, like, we can type my images and add it, but that is a lot of work. So you can add everything in your current directory by doing git add and put this dot, and then everything will be added. So if I do git status now, you see everything is now being tracked. So time to commit, and git commit, put a good message, add images and static folder. That's it. Let me clear my screen again, and everything looks beautiful. So, but there is also the interesting thing about this whole Git thing is that you can, let's say we go here, hello world, and we type, let me put a div now. We can put welcome to our demo Git site, right? I've made some changes to the project. Let me type git status to see what has changed. It's saying that changes not staged for commit. Look at, so that means it's saying the file now that we've changed something. Even your text editor is showing you like a green line here of your latest changes. So you need to, let me go here to add some things, change the file. This is in the static folder. All the files that you've changed are going to show up as modified. And you do the same thing. This is why I said that most times you'll be using the git status and then adding and commit. So git add everything, then git commit your changes, update index files. And then I clear my screen, CLS. And that is it. Now we have our local Git repository. The next question I want us to answer is GitHub. So this is on your local repository, but how do you share this with someone else to help you look at the code or host it somewhere? So if you are, just like this website is hosted here, right? GitHub and Git are two different things. So let me move this, what we have typed here, away a little bit. Git and GitHub are two different things. So this is Git here, and then this is GitHub. Even though you have the name Git on both, they are two different things. Git is a program. Git is a computer program. A computer program for managing software versions or track changes. Right? So this is Git is what they call a version control system. In short, I want to go one extra mile by saying it is called a distributed version control system. That is what Git is. And you can use Git without GitHub. You don't need GitHub to use Git, so don't mix the two. But when you have your code, like we have our code currently in our local Git repository, I say local Git repository because it is currently sitting on our computer. Now, when you want to send out the code for someone else to review or do something with it, how do you do it? Well, you can zip it, upload it via email and send to the person, but honestly, that is not the best way to do things, right? You want to use a platform like GitHub, which is a provider which is what I'll call a source control hosting platform. Basically, GitHub helps you host your code. When you host your code on GitHub, you can invite multiple people to work from that same code base. GitHub underneath uses Git to help you track all the changes. So GitHub uses Git, but you can use Git without GitHub. But like I said, it is a common practice these days for people to use both together, because when you have your code on your local computer, you can send it to GitHub, and other people can be sending their own code to GitHub, and you can be pulling their own changes from GitHub to your own. But if you are working as a individual developer, you're not working with anybody yet, you might not see the benefit right away, but at least the first benefit you are going to gain from this is having someone else review your code by you sending the code URL of GitHub to them. So enough explanation, let's go to GitHub. I'm going to open GitHub, and this is my GitHub. You look at, I'm currently logged in. So if you don't have a GitHub account, you can sign up. It's very straightforward. So I'm going to open this one in a private window now to show you. You come here, you click on sign up, right? The most difficult thing when you try to sign up on GitHub is they have like one captcha that you have to continue turning. So you put an email address and then you say email already exists, so I won't be able to sign up. But you put an email address and you continue clicking until you sign up. When you are signed up, they are going to send you a mail to confirm or validate your account. You just go and click on the link and you are good. Then you can come back to this same page that I am. The one you are going to create on GitHub is to mirror what is on your computer. So I'll click on create repository. Let's give it a name, web project. It can be the name of your project. If you are selling shoe, it can be shoe or whatever. Like you put a description here, demo project for Git. Right? Straightforward. You can either make it public or private, but for now, I want to encourage you to keep it public. For private, you don't want everybody to see it. You can invite others to see it. I'm going to leave everything. This @git ignore, we'll talk about git ignore shortly, but don't leave it to null. It can cause some problem from here. Everything is fine as it is, and then I'll click on create repository. Straightforward, right? Now, Git has given us two different commands to run here. One is if you want to start a new repository, that means you've not done anything. And look at, this is the same command that we've used before: git init, git add, git commit. We've used the same command. These other ones are basically something called branches, which we're going to talk about shortly, but let's leave it for now. So, but then there's a different command here for push an existing repository from the command line. So we need to add this. So you copy this command, which says git remote add origin. You just copy this first line. Let's go to our command. You see I'm still in the project directory. I'll paste it there, and then I'll go back to Git, and then I'll copy this one. And now, because of, if you look at let me show you now, there's a small problem here that I want to show you. If you look at this branch main, we don't have a main branch yet. Let me check. Maybe it's default to main. So our own branch is master. So if you want to do that push, you can do git. Now, pushing means you now want to upload your code to GitHub. So to do that, you type git push -u. The name of the remote is called origin, and then the branch is called master. You see that we are currently in the master branch. We'll talk about branches shortly, but this is it now. When you press enter, you will see that the changes had gone up. Now, it looks a little bit like everything happened like magic, right? So if I go here now, I'll see all my files. all my files are here. If sometime GitHub is going to ask you to put in your password, you can put in your username and password to do the pushing. But I'm going to show you another way to do the pushing without putting in your username and password, because most projects you can't put in your username and password. You are going to need something called SSH key. But before we even talk about SSH key, I want to make sure that we talk about branches. So congratulations, your changes are now on GitHub, and you can go ahead and share this URL. This is a repo URL. So when you come under your username, you are going to see that repository, and you can share this with anybody. You can browse the code here, like clicking here, look at the code. You can check the code, right? Anything you want to do, you can do with it from here. Great. So now let's make some changes. Let's say, if you look, I say we have 3 commits. That is true. We had the first commit, the second one, and the third one. Let's make it another changes. Let me add the file here called about.html, and then I have a new file now, about page. All right. Of course, you know the drill. Now, if I type git what, git status, we have one on track file, git what, add. Now, let's see why. I just type add, I didn't type git, so that was the problem. So git add, dot, that will add the file name, git. When you do that, if you like, you can type git status to make sure that you are only adding the things you want to add. So git commit now, add about. Now that we have added about, how do we push it up? The same thing, git, you type the push, that's you, origin is the name of the remote, and then the master branch. Now it's been pushed. If you go here, if you go to your project, you should see the about there. Isn't it beautiful? Trust me, if you watch the video this far, congratulations, you've really gained a lot from this. A little bit about branches. Branches are a way for you to create like different context. Let me give you an example quickly. Let's say this is the Git repository itself. This is your normal repository. Remember, you've been working in the master branch. And it doesn't have to be master, it can be anything, main, anything else. So you've been working in branches. You've been working from the master branch by default, or the main branch, right? Now, let's say you want to work on another feature of the project called authentication, right? You can check out. There is a process called checking out. So you check out your master branch. Let me just, if that thing can drag. You check out your master branch to, let's say, the auth branch. Checking out means everything would be copied from there into a new branch for you. Whatever you are working on this new branch will not reflect on the master branch until you do another thing called merge. Merging means you are combining what you have done here into the master branch, or you can do it the other way around. While you are even working on this auth branch, someone else can check out the auth branch to a new branch, right? Let's say there is a Google authentication that they are doing, and the person can even try to check out this branch into this branch. Another one, so let's say Google auth. And you can merge this into master. So how do you do that? Let's go. If you want to, you can type git branch to see all the branches we have currently. So we are now in master branch. Look at this small star here. It's showing that we are in the master branch. Now I can type git checkout -b, right? And then the name of the new branch I want to go to. So this single command is going to create a branch and check into that branch. So I type it, and then it says switch to a new branch, off. Everything is still there, right? Everything is still there. So if I type branch now, you see I have the 2 branches, auth and master, but we are in the auth branch, right? And I can go ahead and let me create a new file here called login.html. and then I put login here. You know, I can do the same thing again, add everything I have done in this branch, add login, right? If I do git status, nothing special, it will be clean. If I do git branch, we are still in the auth branch. We can push it, git push u origin. I told you the last thing you type is the name of the branch, which is this time around is what is auth. And then we push this up to GitHub. Now when we go to GitHub, you'll be surprised that if we just refresh the page, nothing is going to that login won't show up here, but it's telling us something that auth had recent push less than a minute ago, the auth branch. If you click on this place, this master branch, you can switch to the auth branch and look at your login file is there. So you can, branches allow you to switch to different contexts of your project. Now, how do we now combine the auth branch to the master branch? Very simple. You go back to the project. Let's go back to the master branch. This time around, I'm going to just type git checkout. I won't put that -b. I'll say I want to go to master, right? I type git branch now. I'm in the master branch, and then I can type git merge auth and down. Now that I have merged the auth branch into master, you see that login has appeared here. So I can push it. I need to push it now to update master, origin, and master. So that means when we push it and we go to GitHub, automatically you will see the login here now. Fantastic. That is Git branching for you. What we have covered so far is how to start a new project, how to add your files, how to commit your changes, how to push your changes to GitHub and everything. So you can go practice with this one. The next video I'm going to make is how to use SSH to push your code to GitHub. I don't want to combine it with this video because I don't want this video to be too long. So subscribe, support the channel any way you can. And if you have any question, please, you can leave a comment or send me a message. I'll gladly reply to all the messages as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.